Well, at least a couple of good things happened. Luck's turning around a little bit. My new crop divider showed up, although it is a little bit rougher than it looked in the pictures. But that being said, I got a junk one that I could cut patch panels off of to fix this one, because really what I needed was a good frame. This one's got a good frame, the tin's kind of... And then I got the Heim joint showed up. I'm hoping it's the right one, because I got to thinking last night after I ordered it, there's a right and left hand thread, and I got the left hand thread because that's the one it showed in the parts book being on the bottom. But then I got to thinking, you know, there's no guarantee that they installed that control arm like it shows in the book. It could be bass backwards and left hand thread could be on top. So hopefully I got the right one. So I'm gonna do that first and take a look-see and make sure, or try to change this out. Hopefully it's the right one, otherwise I'll be calling Mabel on Monday saying, hey, I got the wrong one. I should have just ordered them both to begin with, because there's an upper and a lower, and they're identical except one's right, one's left-hand thread. So this will be the first thing, and then we'll tackle this job. And the one thing, so these snouts, these big wide bastards, are a product of a time when 30-inch beans reigned king, because guys still needed to cultivate them. They're bean stompers when it comes to drilled beans or 15-inch beans. You can follow a 15-inch row with these, but you better be on the ball. And they don't need to be this wide. However, the long crop dividers are awesome in a tangled crop or a down crop. And them being this wide is nice, because part of the reason that they are this wide is it directs the crop down. The reel is right about here, and basically it deflects all the crop around and pushes it inside the reel so that you don't get reel wrapping. Well, what I want to do to eliminate the bean stomping nature of them is they don't need to be this wide. So what I want to do is come back in here and cut them off. Cut the frame off here and saw them off like that, and make a panel that goes on the side here, and make them the width of the frame all the way back. And then you can come up here closer to the top with some pieces of round stock or something at an angle, so that you still have the deflection to push stuff back into the reel off of your whatever I end up putting back here for a deflector. But down on the ground, your snouts are only, what, 4.5, 5 inches wide, so you're not stomping beans. You still won't be able to turn with them, but that's no big deal. You come up to a corner, you back up, you make another little short run in, and then you got enough room to make your turn, and you don't stomp any beans. So that's the future plan for these, but for right now, we're just going to get it a little less fugly. So anyway, Heim joint first. Okay, fingers crossed I ordered the right one. If it does loosen up going down, that means I ordered the wrong one. Oh, fuck. I got lucky there. I should have taken it apart before I ordered it, but it was already 5 o'clock. Maybach closes at 5:30. I did not have time to screw with it. I was like, you know what? I'm taking a shot in the dark. We're just ordering the damn thing and praying to God it's right. Except now, we gotta get it out of the tube. Uh-oh. This part might take a little bit of heat finessing because I got to get the other side loose too, because you got to run them both out and then draw them in, obviously, because you want both sides even. So, oh boy, yeah, that's kind of crusty. See if that did it. Yeah, I might as well do the other side while I got the crap here. Wait a minute here, dummy. Help if you went the right way, huh? Except hate it when the bikes don't want to hold on. Now this one, I'm probably gonna have to get a regular wrench on, hopefully, so I don't hurt it. It's just a matter of what size is gonna fit. Three corners. Ooh. Please don't gall. Please be nice. Oh, shit. Oh, wait, this is a hollow tube. We can do this. We can do this. Why is there... Well, they did an excellent job of cleaning that out, eh? Let that just kind of sit there like that for a little bit. Run some WD down into them threads, hopefully. Well, that got a little interesting. I got it to turn about 3 turns, and then it just locked. I mean, I had this thing full of PB Blaster WD-40. I had it standing up for about 20 minutes on end. I was working it back and forth, and then all of a sudden it just and it wouldn't wiggle, nothing. And a little bit of heat again didn't do anything. And the part that worried me is it had pulled about 2 threads off of there. So I had to get semi-destructive, and I took a slitter wheel and slit the tube. And the minute I did that, it released, spun right out. I saved the heim joint, threads cleaned up on that, awesome. So I'm just gonna weld this shut, and then we have they're 3/4 16 thread, standard National Fine. So we had a tap. Luckily, this was the right-hand thread side, not the left-hand thread side, because we have nothing for left-hand thread. So, luckily, the left-hand part came apart hunky-dory. Otherwise, we'd have been in a little bit of a world of hurt. So I'm going to clean this guy up real quick, weld it shut, chase the threads, and we should be good to put it back on. Almost got my eyebrows on that one. All right, it's back to, it's rough assembled. I went and consulted the manual, and it said that center to center on the pins for a 13-foot head, which is what this is, should be 32 inches. And for anybody that's got a 15-foot head that might want to know, it's supposed to be 30 inches. But I didn't even clean my weld up. I was proud of that. That's a nice weld. But the thread's cleaned up good. That's screwed in good. It's a little loosey-goosey, probably because there's some meat missing off of both sides, and it might be a little bit. But I wasn't going to try to squeeze it back down and figure out bore size or anything. And the jam nut's going to hold it anyway, so we're good. I'm going to throw her on there, get her adjusted, and this part will be done. Sometimes it's amazing how problems lead to more solutions. So this thing's cut kind of flaky. It's not the greatest, which could partially be attributed to the bar being kind of wore out. But I got the stabilizer bar put in the way it belongs. 32 inches on center, what the book calls for. When you put that at 32 inches on center, at mid-stroke on the bell crank on the sickles should be in line with the rock guards. As you can see, they are not. So, started doing some more digging. And what they want you to do is run the bell crank to full forward stroke. So, put the bell crank bearing all the way toward the front. Full forward stroke. And then they want the gap between the ball joint and this angle to be 1/4 inch. Okay, check that. That's fine. We're good there. Then they want you to run it mid-stroke, like I got it right now, either up or down, either way, whatever, mid-stroke. So I did that. Sickle ends up all jacked up. So I ran it to full rear stroke, which would pull the sickle all the way this way, and it puts this sickle bolt in line with the end of the bar. All right, run the sickle all the way this way. It pushes the sickle out about yay far. So the sickle's not adjusted right. Simple fix, but I'd have never caught it if that heim joint hadn't broke. I mean, you might have caught it eventually, but it's not something that stands out. So what you got to do is bust this jam bolt loose, or jam nut loose, and I could probably just pull the sickle over manually, or just grab a hold of, well, bust this loose, take that bolt out, pull the sickle over, where it belongs, which is going to put this point in line with this point. And then just adjust this arm with that loose to get it where it needs to be, put it back together, and we'll be kosher. So yeah, it might cut a little better if the sickle's adjusted right. Now we're getting somewhere. I bet this thing cut slicker than shit now. Now in mid position, it's lined up with the rock guards. You run it all the way that way. It's just off center to this side, and then you run it all the way this way. It's just off center to this side. So I think we're good now. That's probably gonna help her just a skish. So now that that's done, I guess we can start tackling my little crop divider fiasco. Okay, so for starters, this has got to go because this has been scabbed on, and this has got to come out of the way so that I can get, I'm going to take this piece and I should be able, this is going to take a little bit of finessing, but it'll be easier to fix, not attached to that. But I should be able to take and slit this, because this piece is okay, and to get this whole panel off of here is going to be a lot of carnage, because you know, in all honesty, it wouldn't be that bad, really. Huh. Decisions. But anyway, this piece is still okay. It'll just, when I weld it back on, it'll lay back out flat. So I can put this on that. I can either, I'm either going to take this and slit it and cut this bottom piece off for a patch panel for that, or, I mean, it's really not welded on there that great. It really would not be that hard to just, because you slit these welds here, you slit these welds here. I got one there, one there, one there, nothing on the back. And then technically that whole thing would just slide right off the back. Couple little spots down in there that you could probably get in. It might not be that hard to just pop this whole panel off, and I could fix this real quick while it's off, because you won't have the frame in the way. That's tempting. But first, let's do some cutting on this guy. You ever just tear into a project and you start cutting, and next thing you know, you're like, maybe I went a little too far. Yeah. I got all the side skirts cut off, and I started looking at the end of the snout, and it's like, well, shit. They had it all goober welded up through here, and there's a big rust hole in the side, and they had those two great big patch panels welded in here, which the one that they had up here on the, I had to work to get that one off. So basically the entire skin off of that is going to go on here, which once I get this and this and this all come off in one piece fairly easily, and once this is off, everything will be out of the way, so I could beat this guy back out somewhat round. And once this and these two pieces come off in one piece, and once those are off, I could beat this back out flat, and I should, because this has got a round profile, so I should be able to hopefully find a piece of pipe that'll lay in there, and lay a piece of pipe down in there, and get that profile bent back in it. It'll be a little bit of a chore back here, but I think it's doable. And obviously this will be easy, just got to cut all the welds off, push that crease out of it. This one's actually supposed to be here, that's supposed to kick in just a little bit, but that'll be easy enough. That'll just straighten or flatten out and weld right back on. So yeah, I'd have been, in order to fix this frame to make it into something, I would have had to have cut this off and cut this and this off just to get this shit out of the way so that I could cut the box tube off and splice pieces in and straighten everything back out. And then I still would have had to have straightened this out, straightened that out, welded everything back together and put it back on. Well, at that point, if you're going to do that, you might as well start off with a good frame. So I had to pay a decent chunk of money just to get a few pieces of box tube, but at least it'll look decent. But methinks I'm probably gonna call it for the night, because I got to run to the Rural King anyhow, and I gotta get some chain, because I'm not sure. The spring is fine, and as hard as it is to get that spring in there, I find it very hard to believe that when I set the head down at the end of that when I set the head down and started into that path, that snout would have swung up far enough for that chain to go slack and let that spring fall out. Because you have to when I did it, or when I adjusted the springs on the snouts, we had to have the snouts pulled all the way up into the reel frame just to get enough slack in it that I could get the bolts in. So I find that very hard to believe. The only thing I could think is a chain link broke, and then that let the spring fall out. Because the way these things are, you've only got, it's a one-piece chain, and the spring just pulls slack into the center of it, and that gives you your float. So even if that spring would have fallen out, one would think that when you went to pick the head up, you would have just took all the slack out of the chain would have pulled taut, the snout would have came up. So the only thing I can think is a chain link broke. Nothing else makes sense. So anyway, it doesn't matter now. It happened. We're here. So whatever. But anyway, I think, like I say, I'm gonna call her for the night, and we will continue this project in the morning. Okay, so next day, get to get all my patch panels. Well, they're not even patch panels. You gotta get all my sheet metal cut off of here so it can go on there. Good times. So it's all just angle grinder work. There's not really a whole lot to show, so I'm gonna get it all cut off, and we'll come back to you when it's time to start straightening stuff out. Hopefully this goes a little nicer, since it doesn't have a whole bunch of goober welds on it where somebody's already tried to put it back together. Piss poor. Okay, so I got all the panels off the junk frame, That was a little bit of a chore because they must have changed, either different guys on the assembly line weld them in different spots, or they changed the spots where they put the welds, because this one had welds in different spots that were harder to get to. But got it off. Yeah. I already flattened out this piece and got the snout straightened back out. It's obviously got hammer dings in it and stuff, but something like this, you almost need sandbags and all those fancy body tools and the experience of using them to get that to look better. But it was pinched over on itself right here, and this was all caved in. I mean, compared to what I started with, it doesn't look half. I'm impressed. I did not think it was going to come back out that good, in all honesty. It looks better than the one that's still on the combine. That one's going to need some work too. But, well, it's going to need work of it. Well, actually, when I do my modifications, this one's going to get cut like right through here. It's going to, yeah, right about there. So most of this is actually going to get cut off of this one. But anyway, this is going to be the challenge, and I saved this one for last because I was thinking about how I wanted to do it, and I think I've come to the decision that what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right here, slice it all the way up on both sides, pound all this back out flat, then I can get this kind of fixed right here, lay a pipe in here for a mandrel, and then this will be all nice and flat, and then once I lay the pipe in there, I could hammer it back around and form this curve back on the bottom. Because if I try to fix it the way it is, you'll never get it. You'll be fighting it because there's not enough room to work. But if I slice it here, pound it back out flat, and then put the curve back in it, I think we'll be all right. And that spot right there will be easy enough to fix. I should just be able to pound a pipe down in there and beat it back around the pipe to get the curve put back in it, and then obviously it'll be sliced right here. All of this won't be here because it'll be laid out flat. So anyway, you'll see what I mean here in a second. Problem you run into is when it puts a hard crease in it like that, it gets really damn strong and doesn't want to bend. Okay, it took some doing, and I don't know how I got it to come back so good. I mean, you'll be able to tell it's fucked up enough. You'll be able to tell it's been fixed, but it's better than what I started with, and I don't know how I managed to get this profile bent back in it for that reinforcement web. Luckily, this dimension is 2 inches even, so I was able to take a piece of 2-inch flat stock and lay in there, because this piece, all where it lays over here and all this right here, this was all laid out kind of like So not only did I have to pound this back out flat, but I had to take this part right here, bend it back up. I had to take, and this section right here was a real chore because there's only about 1/8 of an inch that was bent out flat the way it tore, but I had to finesse this back around to a 90, and then I had to put this Z-bend back in it. So that's back, and before I go any further, I'm gonna have to weld that crack shut. So that's gonna be our next step. Got a piece of copper plate in there to help hold help support the weld so I don't burn through. I'm gonna need the long one. Sorry, you're probably really hearing the hell out of that since you're attached to the skirt. I got it on high heat to tack it so I could burn through decent, and then when I go through and actually weld it, I'm going to turn it down some. Okay, we're tacked up good. Come on, damn it. Okay, let's go down to here. A glove would be nice. Where's my glove? There it is. Come on, damn you. I hate welding sheet metal. I'd TIG it if it wasn't so damn dirty. But you'd play hell trying to TIG this. If you'd sandblast it, it'd TIG fine, but even wire wheeling it, I think you'd really struggle to get it to not pop. Okay, so most of the hard work is over. Basically all I got left to do, I found there was 1x1 box for the frames. Obviously 1-inch OD pipe works for the mandrel, so I found a piece of pipe. It comes back to like right in here somewhere. Got that clamped in there, got it clamped down to the bench. I cut some box tube off of the junk frame to use for a spacer, so I got something to pound against, and basically all I got left to do is wrap this back around, weld it back together, and should be good to weld everything on the new frame now. So pitter patter. Wow, that's going a lot easier than I thought it would. However, it looks like I am possibly gonna have to make a relief cut here. With all the carnage, it doesn't surprise me, but it looks like I'm gonna have a little bit of overlap from the metal stretching. So actually, let's do this. Clamp that down for a minute. That actually worked a lot better than what I mean, I figured it would work. I figured I'd fight it a little bit more. Hell yeah. Okay. I'll be damned. Now, I got an overlap right here, so take the slitter wheel, slit that so it'll lay down together. I'm gonna have to weld this up in here where it's all broke. Weld my cut shut. And I think we're good. Not too bad, eh? I impressed myself. Well, that, all in all, I mean, you saw how wadded up that was when I started. It's got a little bit of a weeble to it, but once we get it mounted back on the frame and clamped down to the box tube and welded in, that'll all pull out straight. But, I mean, considering what I started with, I am gonna call this a win. I am incredibly impressed with how easy that actually was. It was time consuming. It took me about an hour and a half to do that. But hell, that really, I'm really impressed. So we can start welding stuff back on the frame, and this piece, they got to come off the opposite I took them off, or they got to go back on the opposite of what I took them off. This comes off first because you got to get this off to get in here to cut this where the box tube mounts right in this spot. You can't get to it with that in the way. But that's got to go on, then that's got to go on, then that's got to go on. So get the bench cleared off. I don't need all this shit anymore. And we'll get the final assembly going here. Okay, so to get this guy to fit right, I ended up having to cut this off because it was gonna be too far that way with everything. So hopefully that doesn't mean I'm gonna have to cut that apart, because that won't be as fun, but hopefully we'll be all right. So I have to get that on, but first, since I got this out of the way, we're gonna get this welded in. Gonna start on this top rail and then go on the bottom. So yeah, see if I can find a decent spot to put you so you can see what's going on. Forgot that one's backed up by angle iron, not box tube, so you can't just go ham on it. Well, if this don't put a little hitch in your giddy up, it was worse about 5 minutes ago. Not 10 minutes before this rolled in, it was as sunny out as the day I was cutting beans the other day. I thought we were going to miss all this crap because it hadn't really, it sprinkled for like 2 minutes once today. But other than that, it ain't rained all day. And I thought, well, fuck, we're going to miss all this. That's going to be great. Nope. But anyway, that turned out a lot better than I thought it would. Like, a lot better than I thought it would. Apparently, this piece right here was kind of a cut to fit type deal at the factory, because to get it to fit right, I had to take that sliver off of it. And then it laid in there just like it's supposed to, with the right amount of overlap, the whole 9 yards. So apparently that one's kind of a make it fit type deal. And then this all went on. I had to do a little bit of tweaking because I hadn't got it bent quite right when I straightened it back out. But everything pulled around right, and that didn't go half bad. Everything lined up. I'm not going to lie, some of the welds on the inside here are not the greatest, because apparently they had to come either, well, yeah, probably by the mid 80s they were wire welding. I'd dare say, yeah, that looks a lot more like a wire weld than a stick weld, so I dare say this was wire welded together. But they must have been using some sort of compact gun or something, because you get that gun in there, you couldn't see shit, and it was hard to maneuver it, and you couldn't see what you were doing. You were just kind of welding by braille. So some of the welds don't look the greatest, but they're stuck and ain't going nowhere. I didn't bother fixing this because, like I say, eventually this is going to get whacked off right there, and that's going to be straight. But I will probably, it might have been something I'd have got into today, but I'd have had to do this one and that one, and I'm kind of running. I want to get this thing going again, and we don't have the steel for it anyway. I looked, I'm gonna have to get the Sheeta. That's probably about 14 gauge. So I got something to cut pieces out of. But anyway. Got it done just in time to not be able to put it on because I don't feel like getting wet, but I can get it on tomorrow. Get this on. Fix those 2 pans with the hinges that are broke off. My spare sickles will be here tomorrow. I had a bunch of spare sickles, but between the ones that I broke when this thing went and then the ones that broke when whatever the hell happened went, which somebody on my last video said something that kind of got me thinking. I wonder if that heim joint went and then the sickle got screwed up and busted all them sickles, because I'm wondering what happened was when this thing went under, it picked that whole corner of the head up. I felt it. And I'm wondering if it picked the head up, shoved the sickle bar over, stressed that heim joint, stress cracked it, and then when I finished cutting, it just did it the rest of the way in. And then when that heim joint let go, there was nothing to stop the bar from doing this. So who knows what sort of stupid shit that sickle could have done once it was just in there doing whatever the hell it wanted to. So, but it led to us finding some stuff that should greatly improve the performance of the cutter bar. So there's that. We got this fixed. Everything's other than my sickles, which like I say are going to be here tomorrow, to put back together. And then hopefully by Wednesday afternoon, we'll see how much rain we get tomorrow, if any. Hopefully by Wednesday afternoon, we're back to cutting beans. So I guess I'll cut this one off here, because all I got left to do is throw the pin in it and put the chain on it. It's no big deal. So the interesting part's done. So I guess that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.